fight's not over.
Stop the fight!
No! People!
Everybody, I come here for everybody. Kill everybody. I'm the champ. I'm the king. Kill everybody. Ah!
All right, welcome back to Broke Bets, guys. Lane here with you, of course. Just coming off of the UFC Atlantic City card with some nice little winning bets there, of course. Check those out and get on the Patreon as always. And as always, guys, I got our co-host here with us, Carson.
Yes, sir. We got one more card, and then we're on to UFC 300, so looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. And, as always, with one of these Vegas cards, we kick it off with a slopper. We got Melissa Tanya Mullins versus Nora Cornolle. And I don't know if Melissa Mullins, if she changed her last name. I could have sworn she went by a different last name prior. But anyway, we're going to go with her. Nora Cornolle, super horrible performance in her fight against Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards isn't known as a wrestler or a grappler at all, mostly just a amateur striker, and taken down and held down most of the fight by her. Mullins, I'm not too impressed. She gets hit a lot on the feet. However, that ground game is just going to be so much better, and I'm going to take Mullins by decision here.
Yep. I like Mullins. Probably win it mostly on the ground. 2 fights ago, she fought Dara Zelensikova and ground and pounded her out at the end of round 1. So, yeah, I feel like she'll either win a decision here or find a ground and pound. Yeah, I like her to win it on the mat here.
Yeah, Cornolle, man, just got the reign of booze versus Edwards. Nothing impressive going on here. Nothing crazy to break down either. I think Cornolle has a kickboxing background. To be honest, guys, I don't really care. Carson doesn't really care, and I doubt you guys care. So let's move on. Mullins by decision. Okay, guys, for the next fight, we have Dylan Budka versus Ceasar Almeida. Going with Almeida on this one. Got a 10 or 12-year age gap between these fighters, but the main thing I see in this fight, we have a grappler versus striker, Budka being the grappler, Almeida being the striker, is that Almeida will be, for the most part, doing more damage. And through Budka's fights, and it's not only this Dana White Contender Series fight, there's been other ones in the past, he just really struggles to do any damage in these fights. And maybe a submission would be a way for him to win, but I feel like Almeida, I'm going to say he wins a decision here. I think Budka can survive, but Budka's very strong. I could definitely see him landing a couple takedowns here or there, but just overall, he's going to have to hold down Almeida to the end of the round. We've seen Almeida in his Dana White Contender Series fight work to the fence to get up, which is just such a great sign, especially as a striker, not sitting out in the middle of the cage. And, yeah, I just see him having more reasoning for damage, and I do think, at some points he will get taken down. But, yeah, give me Almeida.
Yeah, I definitely see Almeida probably will get taken down at some point in this fight. But, like you said, he does work his way up, and he can even reverse the position, too. I mean, he, on Fernando in his last fight, he was grounding and pounding him in the second round, and pretty much 10-8'd that round just from his ground and pound, too. So he has that to go for him as well. But Budka, he's 24 years old. He's pretty unexperienced. Wrestling background. He's only been fighting MMA since 2022 professionally. So, and then amateur, he started that in 2021. So he's got like 3 years of MMA experience. So. And not much high-level experience for him.
I was shocked he was signed, and I think it's mostly because he has a story, like he was homeless or something not too long ago, maybe even was partially for the Dana White Contender Series, but in no way would he have ever been signed if Dana White didn't know anything about him, and if he didn't have a story. And at the same time, like, I feel like he's just going to be one of those guys that's going to hug legs and crotches for his time in the UFC, and he might win one here or there, but for the most part, it's not going to go too far. Again, that wrestling background, like you said, it does help him. He is like extremely strong and muscular build for this, and he can get down on people's hips and stuff. But again, I see Almeida climbing up. His cardio held up. One bad thing I feel like about Almeida's game is he loves the right overhand, and it leaves his hips wide open. So that's something he needs to watch out for. Maybe just keep those hands lower in a fight like this. But other than that, yeah, damage. I love the damage. So
yeah, I mean, Budka only has 2 submission wins and 1 KO, and the 1 KO was against a 2-10 guy. So I think Almeida's defense will hold up enough here, and I feel like Almeida will be doing more damage here.
Surprised Almeida's grown as an underdog too. I thought the line would. I think he started at like minus 140 Almeida, and now he's like plus 140. So big flip there. All right, Almeida by decision. Okay, for the next fight we have Gene Matsumoto versus Dan Argueta. Gonna take Matsumoto here, the young guy. He's got a good build for this weight class. I feel like he's short and dense, kind of similar to Dan Argueta. And as we know, Argueta's kind of he's kind of a crotch sniffer. He's gonna try to push you up against the cage, get you to the ground, and he's gonna try to do as much as he can in round 1, and he starts to fade. Matsumoto, on the other hand, touch and move, heavy kicking game, and overall, I think as soon as Argueta starts to slow down from, his wrestling approach, Matsumoto can just start, picking apart Argueta round after round, and he seems to have more of a sparring style. So I'm gonna say this one goes more to a decision.
Yeah, Dan will be chasing that takedown the entire fight. Matsumoto had decent takedown defense, and yeah, like you said, he wasn't overextending on his punches too, which will help him with his takedown defense. He's got heavy leg kicks, and he had pretty good scrambles, and he has good cardio as well too. So I like all those things from Matsumoto, and I think I probably lean the decision here, but I do think he does more damage here and will win pretty handily.
And just like Argueta, or just like Budka, Argueta is like another guy, very strong for this weight class, and he will be able to get a lot of people down because of his size. But then it's just rounds 2 and 3 starts going against him. Matsumoto's so good at ending, for one, putting together combinations, 2-3 strikes, and then ending combinations with a kick. It's just a free shot on the end of everything. So I might bet on him. We'll see. I don't know what I'd parlay him with yet or whatever. I'd prefer to parlay him, but maybe I'll straight bet him. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Matsumoto by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Cynthia Calvillo versus Piera Rodriguez. We're going to take Piera Rodriguez. Low confidence, at least from me on this one. Cynthia Calvillo is not horrible. She's not good. I know she's on a huge losing streak, but she's also fighting a lot of the higher in the division girls, at least more talented women fighters. And in this one, I just feel like the younger fighter, at least will have drive to win. I don't know if Calvillo does. People forget Calvillo went to a split decision with Godinez, split with Nunes. She's still in some of these fights. She's not just being broken down completely. Andrea Lee kind of fucked her up, but for the most part, Piera Rodriguez doesn't look good either. I see this one kind of being just a slower striking match on the feet, and it's just whoever can kind of touch more and the judges think wins. So dog or pass if you are a women's MMA bettor, but yeah.
Yeah, no shot on betting on this one.
The over 2.5. That should be the easiest bet ever, by the way.
Yeah.
If that's out there.
But it's probably juiced, I'd imagine. But yeah, I feel like Rodriguez will be offensively grappling here.
I guess she would be the one shooting takedowns.
Yeah, sloppy women's MMA fight here. Don't think there'll be a finish on either side. But yeah, I just think Rodriguez will have more top control and better wrestling here.
Amen. All right. Next. Okay, for the next fight, we have Heili Alateng versus Victor Hugo. Give me Alateng here as another underdog. I just feel like Victor Hugo, having a lot of knee bars and stuff on your resume, it's fine, but you look at the best fighters in the world, you don't see many knee bars, and you look at guys like Claudio Puelles, Ryan Hall, they're good up until a point, and then they just start to fucking get demolished. I just think Alateng, for one, good top pressure in the grappling, and superior cardio, superior power in the hands. Victor Hugo, maybe it was just because of his Dana White Contender Series fight, but throwing the dumbest kicks, and just looked like he had his mouth hanging open in round 1, getting tired. I think that's just in a way on him. Give me Alateng by decision here.
Yeah, Hugo's 31 years old, making his UFC debut here. Alateng only 32, and he's had some pretty good experience in the UFC, like 6, 7, 8 fights or so. Alateng, he's got good cardio, good wrestling. When he's throwing his punches, he's a little hook heavy, but I mean he hits like a truck. He's super powerful. Yeah, his leg got chewed up a little bit against Gutierrez, but
Gutierrez does that to everybody almost.
Yeah. I don't see that happening here. So I like Alateng to put the pressure on him and just wear out Hugo and finish him later, win a decision here.
Also, some dumb moments in the Hugo fight. His opponent kept activated a clinch scenario where it led to the submission, and he was trying to take down Hugo. It's like, you don't think the guy with 18 submissions or whatever's to Victor Hugo's name, you don't think that's a red flag to try to take him down? And again, he was breathing heavy, and instead of just pressuring him with the striking, he just was being an idiot. So again, I feel like Alateng, while 16-9 doesn't look like a great record, I think he performs better than that, and a lot of those losses are pre-UFC. So
I mean, at one point in his career, I think he was 4-6 early on. So
yeah,
I mean, he's definitely that was when he was young too. So
right,
he's out of that stretch now.
All right, Alateng by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Norma Dumont versus Germaine de Randamie. I'm going to pull for Germaine de Randamie here. As much as age and things like that matter in MMA, it matters, I'd say, a third as much in women's MMA, just because coordination and speed aren't the main factors in winning most of these fights, at least in women's fights. And de Randamie is just huge. Making 135 to be a little bit challenging for her here, but kickboxing background, and Norma Dumont, a good striker herself. I just think she's going to be a step behind in the striking. And de Randamie, as we know, always been that girl who kind of struggled with her ground game. And Norma Dumont, she has a decent ground game herself, but I could see de Randamie getting up a lot of the times, winning a lot of the clinch situations, and it's a why not situation. De Randamie's always been one of the top girls that in women's MMA just never could breach that barrier of the grappling. So we'll see. Fun little fight.
Yeah, fun little fight. You don't say. Germaine de Randamie, she's been out of the game for almost 4 years now, so I want Norma to win.
Okay.
And I think that booty is going to be suffocating her. And I think Norma Dumont is going to get those takedowns and win a decision.
Are we going to see de Randamie run away like Chelsea Chandler did?
That would be another comedy show, but I don't think we'll get that in this one. The only time where Norma Dumont wasn't really winning the clinch or ground positions was Macy Chasson, and that was at 145. I think this will be better for Norma at 135 here. So,
right.
Yeah, I like Norma.
No, I can't blame you. I mean, I get it. The years off thing is obviously concerning. I tried to look at de Randamie's Instagram just to see if are these people in shape? Do they still look like they're decent? She seems to be in decent shape still, or the same figure almost. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with de Randamie.
Yeah, I mean, de Randamie's, all of her recent fights are pretty much against all top competition except for Aspen Ladd, but
well, that was when Aspen Ladd was like, they were saying, choose the next big thing, and then that happened, and everyone's like, Aspen Ladd sucks!
Yeah. It's Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, Nunes, Pena, so, yeah, she's fighting the top girls in WMMA.
Uh-huh. Alright, Randamie by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Court McGee versus Alex Morono. Alex Morono. I mean, Court McGee. What are you doing? Not a great record. I've never been, truly a big fan of Court McGee. I don't think too many people are. Been in the UFC for a long time, but Alex Morono, younger, going to be able to move around more. And as we've seen, Joaquin Buckley is just doing really well at welterweight, getting outworked by him. Not too big of a shame. It's a layup of a fight, people. I mean, Morono's got to win this one, right? So let's go with decision.
Yeah, Court McGee is, 39 years old, and yeah, not looking too good. Morono, he's pretty well-rounded everywhere. Yeah, he obviously ran into Buckley, which, I mean, it's not a bad loss. Buckley just beat Luka yesterday, so. Yeah, I think Morono well-rounded everywhere. He's not great in one position, but decent everywhere. So can grapple a little bit. Got decent striking. Yeah, I think. What do you think? He'll finish him or no?
I don't know. I mean, with the way he's been getting knocked out, McGee, I would think.
Right.
But at the same time, he's getting knocked out by Matt Brown and Wells, who are very explosive, and Morono's not very explosive, so I don't know.
Yeah, Wells has been, or Morono has been to mostly decisions.
Right. I debate whether I should parlay someone like Morono. He's just a questionable fighter to me all the time. But We'll see. All right, Morono by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we got Trevor Peek versus Charlie Campbell. I think Carson just told me he put like $5,000 on Trevor Peek. Is that right, Carson? We're just kidding.
No, that is not right.
We're going with Charlie Campbell. We love Trevor Peek just for the insanity that ensues with his fights. I think it's just hilarious. Hammer fists and just getting clipped super clean, but somehow staying alive. And I'm gonna stick with the knockout, though. I know Peach survived a lot in his time here in the UFC, a lot of punches, a lot of damage, but Campbell's just accurate with his punches. Not only is he accurate, but he's throwing combinations, and I think those combinations, it's just the uppercut, the mixing in of tools. He's gonna put him down, and Campbell would have been in the UFC, it looks like a little bit earlier, but he was a little bit trying to go too fast when he was beating Chris Duncan, got caught. Obviously, Pete could catch him here, but I do think Campbell just takes him out. What do you think?
Yeah, if you're going to watch a fight on this card, it's probably going to be this one. This should be a banger for as long as it lasts. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to be cracking that Trevor Peek chin, but yeah, I think Campbell could here. He's super accurate with his punches, and he throws them straight right down the middle too. Where Trevor Peek is a crazy wild hook man. I think Campbell can time those and throw them right down the pipe and crack Trevor Peek. I don't know if anybody will do it, but yeah, I like his chances here.
Pete's hope is that people will just get exhausted fighting him, and it's where he can more excel in exhaustion over some other people with that sloppiness. So I'm not sure if it gets to that point. I'm going to say Campbell gets him out of there. I tried to bet this under today at -115. It opened up on Bet Online. And as I was pressing the button to place it, it changed odds to like -145, and I was like, and then I held off, and I think it's grown since. So I don't know what I'm gonna do there. Maybe fight ends in a knockout, although that's going to be like probably really favored as well. Or Campbell by knockout, but that's probably going to be like minus 180. I don't know. So not a ton of options, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll just watch this as a fan and enjoy it. But.
Yeah. I cannot stop laughing when I watch a Pete fight. They're always just hilarious. Anyway, yeah. Give us Campbell KO round 1. Okay, for the next fight, we have Lukasz Brzeski versus Valter Walker. What a goofy fight. I mean, this is Johnny Walker's older brother. We're going to pick him. He looks like Johnny Walker if Johnny Walker drank like a 30 rack of Busch Light every day. He's just got like a bigger gut, but about the same height and everything. I don't know. It just feels like he can out-grapple Brzeski. At least when he grapples, he hugs the legs, like wraps them up. And as we saw, Brzeski really struggled with Carl Williams wrestling, and just not a true heavyweight. I mean, Walker's going to have 40 pounds on him at least, so should be a pretty clean just win, just with the grappling. I'm going to say by decision. Doesn't seem like Walker's great with his hands or doing damage. I'd say he has good knees. That's the one thing I saw. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think Walker's got pretty good timing on that double leg takedown. And I think, over the course of 3 rounds, he'll be able to take down Brzeski in each of those rounds. I don't think he'll finish him. But yeah, good top pressure. He's huge. Like you said, he does wrap up those legs when he gets them to the ground. He had pretty good knees in the clinch as well. But yeah, seemed to get tired pretty quick, but kept fighting through it. But yeah, minus 400, I don't know.
No fucking way. Another thing today, I saw this open up with the over 1.5. The over 1.5 is like plus 180, and I was like, I think this one goes over. I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll stick with right there. And then the line movement changed. Now it's like minus 130 to go over 1.5, and I was like, God damn it.
Yep.
But anyway, give us Walker by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Ignacio Bahamondes versus Christos Giagos. I mean, Bahamondes, not too much shame losing versus Ludwig Klein, another good kickboxer. And also Bahamondes young, still, filling into his frame somewhat at his age even still. Giagos, as we know, grappler, heavily undersized compared to Bahamondes in this type of a fight. And he's going to do his blitzing into range, possibly try to get the fight to the ground, and he gets tired. And I think Bahamondes opens up opportunities for a finish in rounds 2 or 3, just because Giagos is a guy that fades, and he puts his neck out in bad positions when he's tired. So, yeah, it could be a submission.
Yeah, Bahamondes has a huge size advantage here, 6'3" against 5'10", and 75.5 inches of reach to 71.5. So I like those long, lengthy weapons from Bahamondes. I think he'll be able to take advantage there. I think this will be a bounce-back fight for him here. Obviously, the Klein fight didn't go his way, but I do think this is a good matchup for him to get back on the winning track here.
Right. I'd like to see a better highlight performance from him. I know he's got like highlight knockouts, but I'd like to see him dominate a fight from start to finish. I know he did it with Ogden, but like find a finish as well. Just straight win. I think he still needs kind of that breakthrough fight.
Right.
But yeah. I like anything that Bahamondes, like if you can do the combination bet, Ignacio Bahamondes to win by finish in rounds 2 or 3, that's probably money. So
yeah,
look at that.
We're just looking at his Contender Series fight, and then two of his 3 wins in the UFC were second and third round.
Yep.
The Contender Series won the second round, and then the 2 UFC wins were both in the third. So
all right, Bahamondes KO round 3. Okay, for the next fight, we have Morgan Charriere versus Chepe Mariscal. Fight of the night. boom. I think, well, Peak is up there for a possible fight of the night, but I think this is fight of the night. And I'm going to go with Chepe. We just saw Nate Landwehr, and I bet on Jamal Emmers. We just saw Nate Landwehr, a guy very similar to Chepe, who just can take the damage and then come back and just deal it and wheel and deal it, and you just can't get tired versus a guy like this. I really think Chepe's nickname, it shouldn't be Machine Gun, it should be Honey Badger, because when he got hit by, like, Jack Jenkins and these guys, he just shows this, like, ferocity, like, motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you, like, all of a sudden. And that judo background shows good grappler, strong striking as well, good chin. I think a lot of things add up in his favor. Charriere, as pretty as a fight he can fight, when you get a little bit tired in a fight like this and you got a guy like Chepe in front of you, it's a fucking nightmare. So I'm going to go with Chepe by decision. But, tough fight to call.
Yeah, this is a very tough fight to call. I think Chepe has fought the better competition, just looking at his losses, all of them outside of the UFC, but they're all UFC guys now. Bryce Mitchell, Gregor Gillespie before then, and then 4 or 5 years ago, Brito, John Anderson Brito, Steve Garcia, and Sean Soriano. So they're all UFC level competition. He was fighting pre-UFC too, so I love that. Like you said, good judo. He's got that dog in him. He just kept fighting through the Peak performance and Jack Jenkins as well. So, and for Charriere, yeah, he's a pretty fighter. He's got a quick jab and likes to throw that overhand right. He had pretty good range management as well. And he was pretty composed. And once he saw Zucchini or whatever his name is, his last fight.
Zucchini.
Whatever. yeah, whatever that guy's name was. Once he hurt him to the body, he was just so composed, and he was targeting that and finished him.
Right.
Pretty clearly, he went for that kill, but was composed as well too.
He's got a good resume himself, Charriere. Like, he's got, some decent opponents on his Cage Warriors, and as you look, like, a lot of those wins are like, 8 wins and maybe 1 or 2 lost fighters. So not horrible.
Right.
He's coming down to some splits in some fights as well, but even with those, I still thought that he looked like he was the better fighter, winning the bigger moments. But again, having that dog in you, Chepe's got it. This dude's knees as well are fucking crazy. He gets people in the clinch and just fucking hammers knees into their skull, and it just is violent. Just very unassuming at times. He looks like a pretty nice guy, but when he's in the octagon, he gets pretty wild. So, yeah.
This should be a banger.
Banger of a fight, yes, sir. All right, Chepe by decision. Okay, for the next fight, we have Alexander Hernandez versus Damon Jackson. Give me Alexander Hernandez. He isn't ever really pulled together here in the UFC. He talked that shit versus Cerrone. Cerrone beat his ass. He went on a string of ups and downs. Damon Jackson, he's just kind of that grappler. He wants to be the grappler. He gets chinned a lot here or there, but he just loves to be on back control with people. And he just has bad body language when he starts to slow down. I'm going to go with Hernandez by a second-round knockout. Although something that makes me, isn't a great sign for Hernandez is I feel like he feels nervous to get tired now, and he doesn't have the output anymore just Billy Q was a good example. Billy Q just got him to the point where he was just so tired he couldn't fight anymore, and then it was just an accumulation of punches just fucking him up. So I'm curious if he'll deliver hard enough shots to get a knockout, but I think he should be able to get one here.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be able to finish Jackson. He's slowing down in that second or third round. Jackson's been finished 4 times, knocked out 4 times. His stand-up is very sloppy. He's just going to want to get this one to the ground, and I think Hernandez is good enough to keep it standing for the most part. And I think eventually he'll be able to find a finish here.
I had Billy Q like for a finish bet, I remember. And the problem was Billy Q kept clinching with him, and I feel like Hernandez at least will keep range in a fight like this. But yeah, I mean, is Hernandez very trustworthy? No. Is Damon Jackson trustworthy? No. Is the under trustworthy? I'm not sure. This is a little bit of a dodgy fight for me overall. So
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, Hernandez KO round 2. All right, guys, welcome to the main event prediction. As always, drop a like, subscribe, check out that Patreon. Again, guys, I think we're probably some of the top cappers of this year so far, just doing extremely well. So beat that line movement, get those positive results, and yeah, Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. I'm going to go with Brendan Allen. You know, he's just been onward and upward, and it feels like he's making the improvements to his game, and he's, you know, he has a little bit of that killer be killed style to him, but I think he's going to attempt more takedowns, at least in this fight. And, you know, Chris Curtis, good takedown defense, but Brendan Allen's very strong, able to capitalize on a lot of those grappling exchanges, get the back. He's got an iconic rear naked choke. He does doesn't ever do like a, I don't know how to say it exactly, but like elbow in line with the Adam's apple. It's always forearm across the throat, more of like a windpipe crusher. And I just see Brendan Allen finding a submission. I'm going to say in the second round, these guys will put some damage on each other, and I think it's a good scrap. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it should be a good scrap for as long as it lasts. I think Brendan Allen will eventually be able to get it down. I think they stand up for most of the first round, and then eventually he'll shoot a takedown, a good timely takedown, and get it down to the mat and submit him. I mean, talking about his rear naked choke, he's on a 4-fight streak of rear naked chokes, and then a decision versus Malkoun, and then rear naked choke prior to that. So 5 of his last 6 fights are all by rear naked choke. So.
And look at who he's submitting, you know. Yeah. Jocko, who's still a good ground game guy. Muniz, a jiu-jitsu guy, like champion. And then Paul Craig, who debatably has probably like the best bottom game in the UFC. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, obviously they fought prior, and that was 2021. So that was 3 years ago, and Brendan Allen is 28 now. So he's like 25 at the time. So he's obviously improved a ton since then. He hasn't lost since. Chris Curtis has really good takedown defense. He's got a high guard as well, works the body very well. But I think with that high guard, at some point, Brendan Allen will be able to get to those hips and take him down.
Right. And, you know, Chris Curtis, he's gotten a bad reputation somehow here recently in the UFC, and I think it's 1 or 2 fights and people will fucking hate you. And, you know, there's the Imavov, he got out of that fight, but I believe that fight was still called off by a judge. I actually didn't get to watch that one, but I watched the replay still. Can't exactly remember. And then the Barrial fight, which just ended up being more of a sparring match, but at the same time, Barrial's part of that equation and how that fight plays out. People forget the banger he was in versus Gastelum, and again, how he came about here in the UFC. You know, he was an older guy coming into the UFC and went on a knockout spree of Phil Halls, Brendan Allen, and some other fuckers I can't think of in the moment. Buckley, yeah. And, you know, the problem is Brendan Allen, he loves to stand and bang with guys who are really good at standing and banging as well. So, like, Sean Strickland, he tried to go punch for punch with, and he just leaves his chin out there to be clipped. And, you know, he got punished there by Sean. He got punished by Chris, and maybe Extreme Couture just has his number. We'll see. But interesting matchup. I like the under. With the information given, gotta stick with Brendan Allen. But again, I don't know if I could trust him with a bet to his name.
Yeah, should be a good fight for as long as it lasts. Curtis has only been KO'd once and submitted once, and Brendan Allen KO'd twice, submitted once. So, yeah.
banger. I like it. I like the fight. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I like it too. Curtis is coming in on somewhat short notice too, I do believe.
Right. Who was it before this?
Vittori and Allen were scheduled.
Fucking Vittori. I'm happy it's Curtis, not Vittori.
Yeah. This should be a better fight. So.
All right. Brenden Allen, submission, round 2. Okay, guys, to recap, Farreau versus Blanchfield. We've tweaked out a small winning card. Just getting into it. Aslan, you might have to give me the information on this one. I actually had to miss this fight. I saw the knockout. I don't know how a lot of the fight went, though, to be honest.
Yeah, Aslan started pretty slow. He didn't throw many strikes in that first round. But I don't know what the judges had it, but I thought he still won the first round. They were just it was a long feeling out process. I don't think either one of them threw a punch for like the first minute and a half. So they're just kind of leg kicking, and then once in every 45 seconds they'd engage in a few strikes. But yeah, I just thought Aslan had the more damage, and Turcali's reaction to the strikes were not very good. And then started round 2, which I was thankful for. Obviously betting for Aslan. He got kneed in the nuts, so he took about 3 minutes there to get his cardio back. So that helped him a ton. If he didn't have that, I don't know how it would have went. Probably not as good. But yeah, he clearly won that second round, I thought, and then in that third round finally finished him. Turcali he had a chin on him. I don't know what if it's just hooks. Aslan was hitting him with a ton of hooks, and he took them all. He didn't have great reactions to him. He kept popping his head back, but he still ate a ton of them. He lasted longer than I thought he would. Credit to him. But yeah, eventually Aslan got him out of there.
Nice. Prop bets, main event, over 4.5 rounds. Again, the books fall for the same trick. The Rose in the Hebos fight, the over was underdog price, and people capitalized on it. I felt stupid for not doing it. We did it this week. It hit with ease, and again, I missed parts of this fight. It was so fucking late, and I didn't want to have to sweat this one, but it looks like Blanchfield didn't really land a takedown, and it was just chop at range, and overall, we'll talk about more of the card here, but easy money is all I'll say.
Yeah, I fell asleep before that fight, so didn't get to watch it. Luckily, they put a bad main event on, so I didn't have to stay on.
Standard. And then parlays. So Landwehr, Emmers, the new rule: don't bet against Landwehr. And Emmers started hot, but you could just see he was swinging too hard, and it just like. I'm not against betting on Emmers in the future. I still think he's a good fighter. But he wanted to get him out of there so bad in round 1, just a bad strategy versus a guy like Nate Landwehr. And he clipped him for sure. But I thought he was going to work in some grappling as well. Instead, Nate did the dirty boxing and does what he does best. And then he said, Nate the train in the UFC. Look at that bicep. Yeah, he's doing his whole spiel.
You're asking me the wrong question. Yeah, obviously, who doesn't love Nate Landwehr? But yeah, horrible game plan from Emmers. You could tell after he hurt him, and then like 20 seconds later, whatever, where you try to go in the body, like completely overswung with that hook. I was like, oh God, you better not be doing this.
If you use the jab, like you should be using for the equation to beating a guy like Nate Landwehr's a jab and a leg kick. You just immobilize him and you just touch him every time he gets close. So
yeah, I thought that leg kick was there all day long for him, and he never threw one of those once.
Right.
Yeah, he tried to out junkyard the junkyard dog.
Mm-hmm. Ruzaboyev, I guess we got lucky at the same time. Dumas, I think he landed one glancing blow, and Ruzaboyev was throwing fight enders at range, just going for it, cutting down distance. And yeah, the ref should have totally gave a little break, and I don't know why they do that. Like, whenever you see a fighter grab their eye, how do you go, continue? I don't get it. And just to touch on it, since we're talking about it right here, the same ordeal with the Chris Weidman fight. Like 4 eye pokes. There was no point deduction for an eye poke. Debatably, it could have been a DQ for an eye poke. I mean, I didn't bet on the fight, so it's not the biggest of deals, but it is shitty to watch someone poke someone in the eyes and then celebrate their victory for poking someone in the eyes. So, ruined the main card, the eye pokes.
Yeah, in the defense of the ref, I mean, he was like behind Dumas, so I guess he wasn't in a good position, but he didn't see it, so I don't know.
A hard part, too, is Dumas, he kept his eyes open for a little bit, and then he closed them, and then he grabbed his eye later. Some weird chain reaction of things, but yeah.
Yeah, and Ruzaboyev did a good job going after him. You don't just stop. It's protect yourself at all times.
I would have expected a no contest, but they gave the dub still.
Yeah. That's what happens when Dumas has someone else throwing punches back at him and is not his baby mama that he's beating up. So thank you, Ruzaboyev.
Sounds like they're going to run it back. Dumas wants to run it back, is what I heard in the post-fight interview. But anyway, Malkoun. So I missed this fight, and you got to see the fun little knockout.
Yeah. Who knows what happened? Yeah, it just looked like he just ran into his hip and knocked himself out. But I thought Malkoun won the first. Obviously, the judges didn't think so. Malkoun knocked him down early on, and then Petrosky kind of knocked him down. I thought he slipped, and they never showed a replay of it. Bisping just kept on saying, "Oh, he knocked him down." And I obviously think the crowd had a part to do with it because they're all cheering for Petrosky and had a bigger reaction to that one.
Right.
But yeah, obviously good outcome with Malkoun.
And then
that was his first finish in the UFC, I believe, too. So,
well, should have been for Brundage, but at the same time, one back to the head punch fucked him. But yeah.
Right.
Finally, Virna Jandiroba versus Lupita Godinez. We got the over in that one. Also, man, with these chick fights, like, take away the hype a little bit. These are chick fights, and like Jandiroba's so ugly, guys. We get it, but like she's shaped like a man. She's fighting like a man. At least she has the strength to get girls to the ground for the most part. So like, I told you guys, it was a great price at Jandiroba by decision, and again that over just hit.
Yeah, and usually the manlier looking females tend to win.
Right. I don't know how that, the ugly bias doesn't come into play for women's fights, which seems funny to me. And then Bill Algeo, Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson's so much better than he gets credit for. Bill Algeo just didn't protect his chin enough, and the equilibrium was just completely gone from Algeo's legs. And I thought it was a good stoppage just because Algeo was on chicken legs for like 30 seconds to a minute, and it seemed like if Nelson landed another thing meaningful, it would have ended up in another knockdown to then where the stoppage would have been. But yeah, like 3 times in a row, cashed as an underdog, or maybe is it 3 or 4? It's fucking quite a few.
And means that you brought it up. The UFC graphic when they're introducing this guy, it said 0-5-1 as a UFC dog. It was like he literally just won his last 2 fights as like a plus 200 dog in each of one of those fights.
Right.
So I'm not sure where you're getting those stats from, but they're wrong.
Right. And like I said, Kyle Nelson just has this tough style. He's got his hands up. He's hard to hit, super clean, and he's got a punishing punch. So, and if you step into range, you're always going to be in trouble. So, very underrated. And a guy you see at the underdog price, I think you take a stab at from here on out. So,
yeah, he's been fighting very well in his last 4.
And him versus Nate Landwehr would be a very interesting fight.
I'd obviously want Landwehr to win, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so too. But it's like a dog energy versus like power, and that's kind of an interesting matchup again. So,
yeah, I mean, I wish they would have let Algeo go longer, just because you he's never been KO'd before. And
right.
It was, a minute left in the round. I felt like, I don't know. I felt like he was kind of gaining some stuff back, and then
one of those fights where it started at such a high pace, you go, fuck, that over's not going to hit.
Yeah, when he was spinning around and doing that crazy stuff, and then Nelson was throwing a lot more strikes than typical.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, Melissa Gatto fight got canceled. We had her, but whatever. On to next week. We got some underdogs. Of course, I'm going to try to get my work in real early for UFC 300, so stuff on the Patreon will be on there. And, of course, guys, I don't know, place bets, have fun. All right.
Yeah.
Peace.
I know. It doesn't matter from the trenches. I'm built like this. Don't doubt me, I couldn't do it. The odds that I couldn't do it. Look at me now.